Next clip. Wow, it's really sad for an Englishman to look at Wimbledon knowing that this year it won't take place. Anyway, when you play a big server like a Query or an Isner, one of the things you have to teach players is to block the return, because the ball's coming so fast. To take a big swing is erratic. It's low percentage. It's much better to block the ball, back up a little bit, and hope that they make a mistake, try and turn the point around somehow. So to block return is tactically a really smart, and it's often not developed with young players. We always teach them to short the backswing, take the ball on the rise, take the ball early, but to teach them to block it is a really, really cool thing to do. Next point. So there's a good example of beating a net rusher. Mr. Zverev, who likes to come to the net a lot. Federer here neutralizes him by hitting a short angle cross court. So the short angle cross court really allows Federer to move the volleyer out to the side. And in this example, it's a clean winner. So we need to know, the other way you play a net rusher is to return more down the line. Because if you return more down the line, you right away stretch the volleyer at midcourt. What else do we need to consider? We need to teach our players to deal with our opponent's strengths. Now, sometimes it's just as simple as you just avoid the strengths. Just don't hit to their backhand. Don't bring them into the net because their volleys are too good. Whatever it is, don't make them move side to side because their movement is just too strong. So you just avoid it. Or you could try to neutralize their strength. Now, how would we do that? Well, you could change the rhythm. So if they're a big, hard hitter, then you change the rhythm. Slice, ding, flat, topspin, slice, ding, flat, topspin. Or you could adapt your positioning. You could back up, which gives you more time to read the fast shot in order to try and turn it around. Or the third way, which is often not taught, is you teach people to attack the strength of the opponent. So you can't rally to Roger Federer's forehand. If you try to rally to Roger Federer's forehand, you're going to get hurt. But if you attack Roger Federer's forehand, then he's going to be in trouble. So here's an example of Ferrer doing it to Nadal. You can see right away that he could have gone back to the backhand, the weaker side, but he doesn't because he sees that he can open up the court and he attacks it. But he doesn't just roll the ball to his forehand. He goes for a power shot. Next tactical consideration, the weakness of the opponent. Clearly, we have to exploit the weakness of the opponent, which often is their movement, their backhand. Maybe they have weak volleys. Maybe they have a weak second serve. But we also have to open that weakness up. So you may have to actually hit hard to the forehand, attack the backhand, or hit an angle to the forehand to move them diagonally out of the court, and then hit hard to the backhand. Here's an example of a clip of the Junior Davis Cup. These boys were, this is Felix Aliassime at 15, and also I think Denis Shapovalov, attacking the backhand, what I call bullying the backhand. Bully it, bully it, bully it. Go after it, time and time again. Just play to the backhand. 75% of your shots, hit to the backhand. It's not such a stupid tactic to have in your mind that if you hit 75% of the shots to the backhand, you're going to win more points. Oh, have we lost it? No, there it is. Okay, next clip. Other considerations. If you're playing a righty or lefty, we know that if you play a righty or if you're playing a lefty, for example, you may approach cross court, not down the line. If you're playing a lefty, you may serve more wide serve than serve body. Single-handed players don't like high balls on their backhand. Opponent's grips. If a person has an extreme grip on their forehand, they hate low balls. If you're the underdog, if you're the favorite, if you're equal. If Andy Murray is playing someone that's 120 in the world in the first round of Wimbledon, his tactics may be different than if he's playing Djokovic in the final. Okay? If you've never played them, you may be a bit more cautious. But if you've played them before, you may know, well, they're going to have a big serve, they're going to have a big forehand, they're going to come to the net a lot. So your opponent really does dictate, especially if you're preparing a player for a match, how you tactically may implement your strategy. The next point, space. And there's two areas of space that I want to cover. This whole idea of laterally at the baseline, laterally at midcourt, laterally at the net. Are you in the perfect position by the time your opponent's going to hit the ball? So here's a good example of a young girl. She's 13. This was at Le Petit Arc in Tarps, the 14 under event. And watch her move from the baseline. She doesn't follow the line of the ball. She goes perfectly in the middle of the court. Now, so you saw her split step there, perfectly on the center tee, which is exactly where all the professionals will go when they approach. Now, when they hit an approach shot, like a shorter ball, then they will follow the line of the ball and go towards an off-center position. But when you come from the baseline, you always go to the center tee. That's the middle of the possible two angles from baseline to the midcourt. But when you go close to the net, you have to shift off-center. So she's perfectly developed the right midcourt positioning here laterally. Another example. Now in that clip, I just wanted to focus in on the movement. That's the return of a second serve. And what you saw Verdasco do was back up. So we always teach players, step in and attack the second serve, step in and attack. And it's just not true that that's the way the game is always played, especially on high bouncing hard courts, slow clay, that you will often see a lot of the Spaniards, South Americans back up, play a drive, and then look to set up their forehand on the next shot. And that's the game. So we need to know the game of tennis. And what I found in my travels around the world is that as more and more coaches have come into the profession, maybe you weren't ex-players, I'm not an ex-player, we've had to learn what the game is. Often what players feel, because they play at a high level, if you didn't play at a high level, you have to learn this knowledge. This is tactical knowledge that will help you create game situations in your training, will help you develop patterns of play with your players, help them prepare them for tournaments, but you have to talk the game, and this is the tactics of the game. Now I want to move into a slightly longer part of the presentation where we want to talk about not my space, not where I move to, but how I exploit your space, how I move you. And this is how we're going to focus on it first. This is a really nice breakdown that will help you as coaches tactically plan your sessions. So this is a really important part of the presentation now. First part. We're going to focus on exploiting the space of our opponent in a progressive way, from easy to more difficult. So even your mini reds and mini oranges could do the first couple, and then as we go on, they're slightly more skillful. First tactic, to dominate from the middle into the corners. And I like that word, dominate, be the boss, be in control, control the court. And why I think this is the easiest way to move the opponent is because if I am the player moving you from the middle, then I don't have to move very much. You have to move a lot side to side to side to the side to the side, but I don't move very much at all. So I conserve my energy, but I really deploy your energy.